Greetings. This is Judy at the Peace Place. I'm the penman of Crayons. I'm the founder of the Peace Movement. And today I bring you a word called turning to and for wisdom. God teaches us that our understanding is not His understanding, our ways are not His ways. And we can learn exactly what He means by that as we seek His face. So, Holy Spirit, we just invite you into this place today. Say, have your will and your way. Capture our hearts. Transform our minds. Correct anything that needs to be corrected today, and we'll give you all the gratitude and all the glory for it. Turning to and for wisdom. God, what have we built through our agreement with not you? Deep deception and diversion in so much that we now do. Ignorant of or conscious denial of the destructive path, projecting dissatisfaction, disappointment, and wrath, all thinking we have the answers to correcting this mess, each with a point of reference, defending what we call best. Many conditioned to believe only man is at the helm. God help us see it as our mind's error that overwhelms. We are not designed to be the source. We're to seek your face. For there's nothing you don't know, nothing you can't replace. Only you hold the blueprint, revealing each piece of your plan. Only you can bring correction, rearranging all with your hand. Only you know pure love, the sacrifice and the cost. Only you clearly see how we choose other and how lost we are, deceived by strategies of destruction. Oh God, help us untangle and expose all corruption. Help us know truth, embrace, and learn to stand in its power. Forgive us for our arrogance, defending ignorance each hour. Intervene as we submit and turn to your mighty love plan. Holy God, we hunger for correction and the power of your hand. Yes, having studied for decades to understand man's mind and man's ways and philosophies of man and religions of mankind, I became convinced that that is not what I knew in those few moments where God embraced me, held me in his arms, where I experienced the peace that passes all understanding. I was only at 10 years old. So for many decades, I searched for whether that was still available. And in that search, studied many, many other things. But I realized at the core of all those other things was man's understanding. And yet God said to us, your understanding is not my understanding. Your ways are not my ways. So I ask him, teach me your understanding. Show me how to do that. Guide my steps. Renew my mind. Teach me how to walk in those ways. He continues to do that. He is faithful. He continues to renew my mind. Helps me to be able to see those things that are not him. How many times have you said, I know, but then when you're willing to have the spotlight on your life, you can see that there's little evidence that you know how to apply and to live that way. This is the big gap between what we have stored in our mind and what our hands and our mouths and our feet and our hearts actually produce in the world. God created us in his image. I believe God's desire is that we allow him to show us how to walk in that image. Allow God to keep us on his potter's wheel. Allow and remind us that he is the tree, we are only the branches. He is the all-powerful source that grows. And we are the recipients when we are willing to be transformed, be remolded and reshaped, be corrected into the ways of God so we can be useful vessels on the earth for God's kind of love, not man's distortion of that word. God has given us the book of Proverbs, which is full of wisdom. It's 915 verses, I think, that addresses every angle and aspect of our lives so we can learn what God says for wisdom. We have the love chapter. God teaches about what his ways of love are. Are we bold enough as we come boldly before his throne of grace? Are we bold enough to ask God to show us where there's a gap between the way we walk and his word? It's an amazing life as we're courageous enough to humble ourselves before him. It's a very freeing life that we can have as we do that. When he says, my people will perish for a lack of knowledge, well, when we act as though we have all of the answers, but then we see what the product is that's produced through our limited ways of understanding. I often think of our lives as a tapestry that God has woven. He knows every nuance of every color of every thread, every size of every thread, representing the thoughts and the uniqueness of each of us. And it's only God that knows how to weave that all together so we can come to that place of being pure and holy and useful vessels for his love here on the earth. I believe that's what God's plan is, to help us discover our place in his plan of love. And God is the only one that we can turn to that can accurately and completely show us our part in that plan. We have tens of thousands of thoughts every day. Are we willing to ask ourselves, how many of those are renewed thoughts, restored truth of the loving, holy God in his ways? Well, it's an amazing journey when we're willing to not settle for the familiar, for when we acknowledge the powerlessness in our familiar. And we know God's love, his creative power still exists today. And we know that God is willing to mold us into his image, to help us find the plan that he has for us. It's a process that's more fulfilling than anything I've studied in the decades and decades of my life. And as God continues to reshape and remold me and teach me what he means, not settling for what I thought he meant, but be able to walk in the love and the power of God and learning more and more of his presence, how to discern that, his ways, his love, his healing power. all the many, many facets of our amazing God. We can learn how to do that. We can learn to walk that way, not just know about it. So if you're interested in joining us on this journey, you can subscribe here on our channel. You can tell others about us. You can find more about us on prayoms.com. That's PRAYOEMS.com. And you can find us at thepeacemovements.com. Remember, that's the place of peace that passes all understanding. That's the place where God teaches us, reshapes, and remolds us into his love image, establishing the peace that passes all understanding within us. So we know we are hearing from God. His ways speaks to us through his word. Then our relationships shift and are more sourced in the love of God. Then as we know the Prince of Peace, we can bring the peace that passes all understanding to many, many others. So this is Judy, praying blessings for you today, inviting you to ask God to light a fire in your heart so you have a passion to bring his love, to be his loving way on the earth. We're all part of this. We might as well live as though we are being reshaped and remolded into the image of love, into the image of God. Judy, signing off for today. Blessings.